I'm King Nave. I hail from Vegas. And... No, let's start this over. I can't do this.
The first rap that I could ever remember listening to was Bone Thugs-n-Harmony. And it was my dad and mom didn't want me listening to it. You know, I found one of my sister's CDs, and then I found a couple of friends that were into the same stuff, and then that kind of jumped into like the Chronic era with Dre and them, and then I found a little bit more underground roots as I got older with my taste and whatnot. But Bone really brought me into it.
Nice. That's a nice thing. And what about some of that Juggalo stuff? Did you ever get hits of that, or?
That was the underground reference that I made. I got into ICP and Twisted when I was relatively young, probably 13, 14, something like that. I was not exactly the most popular kid on the block, so the outcast mentality of the underground scene was very appealing, and I rocked the Psychopathic until almost my early 20s.
Nice, so kind of like the underdog thing. In a sense. You just want to be the underdog.
Absolutely.
Well, I grew up listening to Linkin Park, so Mike Shinoda has always been the big influence for me in hip-hop, especially because the way that he does his hip-hop, I really relate to it, and you know, it's a different sort of style than you're used to hearing with normal hip-hop, like the candy pop, sort of what you hear now, as opposed to like, I mean, back in the day it was a lot more real. And also Jay-Z, which he ended up actually working with Linkin Park as well, but Jay-Z was a really big inspiration for me. I think he is just a lyrical genius. He's a god of lyrics, of sorts. And I think now I would say who I'm currently inspired by a lot is Hopsin. Like, that dude is so spot on, fucking perfect. Just absolutely. I love Hopsin.
Well, I mean, of course, like Tupac, Biggie, you know, I'm a 90s child. Mm-hmm. You know, they came out when I was in like 7th grade. It was like perfect time to like hear that stuff. Kind of came up with that. That probably explains a lot of like the style that I actually have. Because I don't rap about that type of stuff, but the way I sounds more, you know, West Coast thug than any other kind of thing. And that's probably from that. And pretty much everything. I mean, I still even find new artists now that, you know, inspire me to change things and, you know, different feels and everything. It just, music in general just inspires me all the way around.
Cool, so you're not just a hip-hop fan?
No, matter of fact, I didn't listen to hip-hop until probably, well, MC Hammer.
Yeah.
I used to jam him and stuff, but I was more of a rock, like 9 Inch Nails I liked, Pearl Jam. Then I started getting into Pac, Biggie, Eminem was a big influence of mine. That was kind of, he was pretty much the go-ahead to go from poetry to, you know, what I felt like I wanted to do.
As far as inspiration, man, I've been writing poems since I was like 9. Hanging in the Palmyra Heights in Warren was the first time I ever freestyled. So as far as inspiration, like, I listen to a lot of East Coast music, not a West Coast cat. I'm all about some Eric B. and Rakim, Method Man, all of Wu-Tang Clan. Pretty big into the proponents that Cassidy brings to the game with his flow structure. Anybody who doesn't look up to Eminem, the way he raised the bar in the music, the game, has a very skewed view. I've got to do a lot of shows with people that I would consider inspirations, like Tech Nine, Bone Thugs-n-Harmony, Afro Man. Whether it be their path to success, steps they took along the way, or maybe just putting that little something in there that kind of reminds me of them that makes my style different. You know what I'm saying? Anything like that. I mean, there's some upcoming cats that I think deserve a lot more recognition than they get. But that's because a lot of those dudes kind of try to follow in footsteps. So to me, anybody who took an original path to music should be seen as, whether it's music, battle, whatever, should be seen as an inspiration, period.
I have definitely experienced... Oh shit. I have definitely experienced... I've been through some shit.
Beef, hip hop beef. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of, old school West Coast, East Coast, that kind of stuff going on. How do you feel about, like, local beef? Do you think that there's local beef in the 330 between hip hop heads? Do you have any beef with anybody?
Do I think there is? I'm sure there is. I mean, that's part of the culture. I mean, beef's beef. Me, myself, I got a couple people that, kind of brushed us off and, did this and that, and I think they did it in an uncool way. But as for beef now, I mean, I'm not out there calling their name out. I if nothing that I'm that worried about, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Brush it off my shoulder. It's nothing. But yeah, beef does exist. I mean, that's all there is to it. That's part of the culture. You end up having a problem. It becomes lyrical. It becomes this. It becomes that. I've always tried to downplay any kind of problem like that. Not that I don't want to bring it, but it's not what I represent as an artist. I represent, what I want to talk about. And if it ends up coming out, it comes out and whatever, what I say is what I say. But I don't worry about, bringing it. I don't have an enemy that big that I'm that worried about it.
On the local scene, a lot of people have different beefs. They came from a different side of town. Their fans don't like each other. The best one for me that's kind of recent, and it's not super recent, but it was more or less over a bunch of behind the scenes stuff that didn't need to be there, was Ludacris and Little Flip. That beef to me changed rap. And that beef changed rap because two rappers who have personal problems. And people in their crew that got personal problems took it to music. Now, was there altercations? Yeah, that's where there's a difference on the local level to the mainstream level, or the at least more exposed level, is that a local MC only has to ever know about the competition he's presented with. A mainstream MC is always going to have somebody who's violently admirable. Like, it's not that they're beefing with somebody just to beef with them. It's more, a lot of times with mixtape songs, for instance, it's more competition to see what you can do with the same thing that mainstream artist was presented at. So they get 50,000 people who can't stand them because they're doing better than they are. Now, when you get a real competition lyrically, the biggest one ever, and aside from Pac and Biggie having their beef, is Nas and Jay-Z. They proved that if you work together by going at each other, you have the seed to grow a fruitful plant in hip-hop.
Beef in the hip-hop community?
Yeah, how do you feel about like local beef and stuff? Do you have any local beef with any
I
other
think
rappers?
some of it's healthy.
Yeah.
Some of it's healthy and almost necessary. Like as tragic as like the Biggie and Pac thing was, it put rap in everybody's living room. People that had never heard hip hop before were now hearing about this East Coast West Coast war of words and getting exposed to it and everything like that. Now that obviously ended tragically, and that's never okay, and we lost two great guys. But beef actually helps the music industry. Controversy helps the music industry because it turns into views, it turns into sales, clicks, listens, whatever.
I've seen some rivalries start, but definitely the funniest and the one that stands out the most to me is my own personal experience with somebody named what the fuck? I don't want to say his real name, but I'll say his rap name. He called himself Mr. Insanity. Out of nowhere, he decides to just like start freestyling, battling everybody. Like, but he's going in a circle. Like, he starts with the guy next to him, and the funniest thing, he gets all the way around to me, skips me, and just starts going back to everybody else. Comes back around to me, skips me again. So my dude Robbie was sitting next to him, and I texted Robbie. I was like, "Hey, ask him why he's skipping me, and tell him to battle me and stuff." Because I had already been kind of like thinking like some stuff in my head that I could say, you know what I mean? Like, I was expecting him to battle me. So Robbie ended up saying something like, "Why don't you battle Jesse?" He was like, "Oh, that stuff's in the past." He's like, "But if he wants to for fun, like, we could do it." And this kid literally just said a bunch of bullshit. Like, like one of those type of freestylers that they're not rhyming or really even saying punchlines. They're just saying stuff to say stuff. That's what he did for like 15 minutes, and in like a minute and a half, I slaughtered him. Like everyone was really quiet when he was rapping, but when I was rapping at the end of every line, everyone was like, "Oh shit!" So that was pretty awesome. Then we battled a couple more times, and I destroyed him a couple more times. So there is definitely some local hip hop beef going on, and I have served it up.